We've been living for an entire year on our off-grid homestead. So as we celebrate our first year anniversary here on the homestead, let's see what we've accomplished. Hey friends, it's Barbara Sue at Kowalski Mountain and welcome back to the homestead. I cannot believe it, but Philip and I have been living on our off-grid homestead for 1 full year. Now the year has gone by so fast and the days just slip on by, and some days it feels like we haven't accomplished much, but when we look back, we really have accomplished quite a bit to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. And so I can look back and remember. Let's look back and see what we've been doing for the last 6 months of our first year at Kowalski Mountain. Now if you're new to our channel, it took us 7 years from the time we purchased the first 40 acres of Kowalski Mountain until we actually moved here last September of 2023. Now I did a video all about the journey to get us here, and you can see that right up here. Now today we're going to take a little walk down memory lane and see what we've been doing for the last 6 months of our first year here at Kowalski Mountain. Now I've already done a video about the first 6 months, and you can see that right up here. Now these last 6 months cover the spring and summer of our very first year here at Kowalski Mountain, and much of the work here on the homestead has focused on the agricultural side of the farm. So that means that we've spent all summer in the gardens and raising and growing and adding animals to our homestead. Now we planted 4 gardens here on the homestead, a very ambitious 8,000 square feet. And it was a lot to manage, and we had that in 4 separate gardens placed throughout the farm. We had our main production garden, which is furthest from the house. We have the tomato production garden, which I'm standing in right now. And then we had the animal production gardens, there are 2 of them, where we were growing food for ourselves and also the animals. Now regardless of how wild this garden looks right now, we grew hundreds of pounds of food. So even though it wasn't perfect, we still had a great harvest. Now I wish you could smell this, because this basil, this smells amazing. And I don't even really like basil. We grow basil as a companion plant to help keep bugs away, but I love the aroma. Now we are still getting tomatoes from the garden, and some of these are gotten a little bit of bug in them, and I throw those in the woods for the turkeys because I'd rather they eat them out there than come pick out the good ones in here. Now believe it or not, I brought a basket today. If you follow me on social media, you'll know that I almost never have a basket with me. Now our 2 biggest challenges for our gardens this year, okay, 3 challenges. Our 3 biggest challenges that we had with our garden this year were, number 1, the weeds really got ahead of us. Number 2, we don't have any irrigation set up here on the farm. So we were kind of following the same method used by the Amish. The Amish don't water their crops, and they grow beautiful acres and acres worth of gardens. And they sure looked a lot better than ours, I have to admit. But honestly, not irrigating was not working for us. These plants really struggled, and we didn't get near as much of a harvest as we really wanted and expected. And then the third thing that we did not do well is we didn't fertilize well. We just gotta do better at that. Now Philip is already working on that for next year, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Not too bad of a harvest for a fall day on this very neglected spring garden. Now I have to tell you, every time I pick one of these purple peppers, I think of my daughters because they don't like to plant boring food in their gardens. They like to plant interesting things. And this makes me think of my girls. Now this year we planted 2 strawberry patches. This patch went in the spring and it's looking amazing. And this patch we just put in. Now, one of our goals here at Kowalski Mountain is not only to raise our own food, but to raise food for our animals. And this is the very first time we ever attempted to grow a field of corn. Now, this field is a few acres here on the front of our farm, and this corn was all dedicated to our animals. Now, it was a really exciting endeavor, and our Amish neighbors helped us by planting this corn. And I can't help but think that they've probably had a good laugh at our expense, because this is the saddest looking cornfield in the entire county that I have seen. There's just no nice way to put that. Now, one of the things that we didn't do that the Amish did was they fertilized their fields. And by the time we realized we needed to do that, we had a friend advise us to cut our losses and do better next year. So that's what we decided to do. Now, maybe this silage is not going to last near as long as we hoped it would. It's still feeding our cows. Now, Philip runs these stalks through a chipper and the cows love it. I'm so excited because I was kind of nervous that our cows were really going to care. I mean, they eat grass and we do give them grain as a treat, and our dairy cows get grain. But, you know, I didn't know if maybe they'd be snobby cows and they wouldn't want to eat silage. But turns out they're not, and they're thrilled to eat this silage. So even though it didn't turn out the way we wanted, it's still going to help feed our cows through the winter. Now, while the spring garden has been a wild, weedy mess this whole season, the fall garden is looking amazing. Now, I have to tell you, I kind of think fall gardening is my favorite because most of the bugs are gone. We aren't struggling with the weeds near as much, and you don't sweat even close to the same amount. This spring, I lost 10 pounds like overnight just from sweating all the time. Now, don't worry, it's creeping back up on me already because I've stopped doing that. But I have to say, fall gardening is so enjoyable. Now, we didn't plant very much here. We have some green beans, we have some kale for the cows, some lettuce, and I think there's some peanuts in there as well. Now, we had quite a few other things that we really wanted to plant, but we didn't have any rain. And since irrigation is one of our biggest issues, we didn't push our luck. Now, we're definitely doing some things different in this garden that we learned from the spring. Now, one of the things that Philip did different with this garden is, for one, this garden is close to the house. This is on the way from the house to the pig pen, and so he walks by this every day. He's been able to keep up with the weeds a lot better. And one of the main differences we've done in this garden is we're irrigating it. Now, if you see right here, Philip has created 2 rows close together with a trench in the middle. Now, we do haul up water from the creek, and then we use the tank and we just let water trickle down this line. Now, he's put rocks in the trough here so that it kind of slows down the water and lets it go down a little bit slower. But by irrigating this garden, we're getting so much more produce. Now, I picked green beans 2 days ago, and some of them look like I haven't picked in a week. They're huge. Now, one of the things that Philip has noticed with the way that he planted this garden by making mounds and putting a trough in the middle is that the beans kind of have a very shallow root system. So for the spring, he's definitely going to improve on that so that we have a bountiful harvest next summer. Now, one of the most successful parts of our garden is right here in the compost pile. Now, these tomatoes behind me are all volunteers. I didn't plant a thing. I haven't fertilized. I've done nothing. But they are growing like crazy, and they are still producing tomatoes late here into the fall. Now, I've already made 2 batches of salsa that I harvested just from these compost pile tomatoes, and I might get a 3rd batch because they haven't stopped. Now, one thing to note, when anything falls on the ground here, it's on the ground. I don't pick it up. Now, the pigs are Philip's favorite addition to the homestead. Now, these large hogs are the Duroc and Hampshire mix hogs that we bought back in the spring, and you can see that video right up here. Now, they have gotten huge. Now, this is Oreo, our big boar, right here. Cookies and cream. And right behind them is chocolate chip. And those are the kinds of names you get when you ask your grandkids to help name the pigs. Now, Cookies and Cream was scheduled to go into the freezer this fall, but it looks like she's going to get a respite and get at least 1 year to raise a litter of piglets because of an unexpected fine on Facebook. Now, these hogs are on wire, so you can see there is a single wire of electric fence there. It is double in some sections, but these hogs have proven that they're not going to go anywhere, and they're also very friendly, so even if they got out, I'm pretty sure they'd come running to Philip if he called. They are getting enormous, and they're not even full grown. Now, Philip cannot pass up free food, and he answered a Facebook message about hogs that needed a new home. Now, these 6 Kowalski hogs were escaping from their previous owner's home, and she'd had enough. And so we packed them up and brought them home. Now, we haven't had any trouble with them getting out so far, though we've just moved them onto electric wire this week. They've been in an enclosed pen up until now. Now, there are 5 boars in this group and only 1 sow. Now, we're thinking about keeping a pair, but Philip doesn't care for them as much as he likes the big hogs. So, at the very least, the 2 big hogs are going to go straight into the freezer soon, and then the smaller ones will be harvested later this fall or winter. Now, Kowalskis are a pasture pig. They don't tear up the ground near as much, and they're wildly popular. But so far, Philip likes the larger hogs a whole lot better. Now, in addition to butchering the 2 larger hogs, Philip also wants to castrate all the boars except for 1. And while we might try to raise a litter of Kowalskis, we're still pretty much on the fence about this breed. All the animals here on the homestead have to have a job, and the pig's job is to help us till up this field. Now, this is part of the animal production garden where we grew cantaloupe and pumpkins, and now Philip is letting the pigs come in here. Now, they're rooting it up, they're fertilizing it as they go, and they're helping us get this garden ready for the spring. Now, he has to give them kind of a narrow trough so that they'll concentrate their efforts and they'll work on one section at a time. Now, Now, we might have started the homestead with a very humble trio of chickens with Chanticleer and his 2 ladies. We've definitely multiplied the flock. Now, this spring, I ran 5 batches of chicks through my incubator, which was way too many. And it required a lot of work to integrate them all into what you see now. But now I have way too many chickens. And while I used to get about a dozen eggs a week if I was lucky, now I'm getting a dozen to a dozen and a half a day. And all of these young pullets are not even laying yet. Sorry, mamas. Not doing that. Now, this spring and summer, Philip has spent a lot of time building new enclosures and getting us set up for all of these new animals. Now, he built this chicken tractor behind me. And this houses our black American breast chickens and the guineas. Now, Philip builds everything heavy, so it's not going to be susceptible to the wind or to predators, and it's pretty much a stationary chicken coop. Now, Philip also built the chicken tractor that housed our Cornish cross broilers, and right now that's my rooster pen. Now, that worked great to be able to rotationally graze our Cornish cross broilers, and we raised hundreds of pounds of chicken for this next year. Now, since we have created the chicken compound behind me, we decided that our animal water tank was ill-placed. Now, it used to be across the way underneath the solar panels, and that was great when we only had to water cows. But when we had to water a whole lot more, that was kind of far away. Now, this is much more centrally located, and it's a lot easier for me to manage. Now, while most of the animals here on the homestead we've added since we moved here to Kentucky, we did bring our Dexter cattle with us. Now, this is where I start every morning, bright and early. It was right here, sitting beside my cows, milking Meg and Cayenne, and we have the addition of raw milk here on the homestead. Now, since I started milking the cows, I realized that the only reason I ever went to the grocery store was to buy milk, because now I never go because I get my milk here every morning. Now, let's go out to the cows and see how they're doing. Actor,
cut stuff, honey. Cut.
actor on.
What?
Actor on.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. What you doing? I told you you're already a YouTube star. Now, we're pretty sure that the cedar trees give the cows some relief from the flies. And you can see that they're kind of hunkering down underneath, staying nice and close. Now, I just saw that cow nursing on Meg, and I thought it was Prince, but no, it's Apollo. He's allowed. Time for a little lunch. Now, while the pigs are Philip's favorite animal on the homestead, the cows are definitely mine. Now, as a little girl, I always loved red calves, and now I have my very own. I'm so excited about that. Now, just to catch you up, we brought up 4 Dexter cattle from Florida. We brought Prince, our bull, and also Meg and Kiana, who were both bred by their previous owner while he kept them on their farm after we purchased them. Now, we also brought along Ellie, who is a heifer. Now, it took a little while for Prince to get big enough to do his job, but the last heat that I recorded for Ellie was back in February. So I'm pretty sure we should have a calf coming this November. Now, milking Meg and Kiana, while it's a lot of work, I certainly enjoy it. Now, we chose Dexter cattle for quite a few reasons. They're a little bit smaller of a breed. They're a little bit better of foragers. They can handle the imperfect conditions of our farm a little bit better. And while they definitely give milk, they don't give near as much. Now, we're still calf sharing with both Meg and Kiana, which means that their calves, Apollo and Rex, spend the day with them and nurse throughout the day. Then in the evening, we separate the boys and we allow the girls to build up plenty of milk over the night so that we can have some of the milk in the morning. Now, Meg is pretty consistently giving me a half gallon of milk every day, while Kiana, not as well. Now, I have to admit, Meg is my favorite. Meg is a much better milk cow. For one, she gives more milk, she is more cooperative, and she has really a better personality. Now, Kiana and Rex are the instigators in this group, and never fails when we're trying to get something done with those calves. It's going to be either Rex or Kiana that start the circus here on the homestead. Now, Prince is our herd sire, meaning that he's our bull. And when we came here last year, he wasn't much bigger than Apollo. He's just a much smaller animal than the rest of our cows. Now, he has changed the most. During our 6-month update, he had a much lighter color. As he shedded out that winter coat, this deep, dark dun has come out, and he is just a gorgeous bull. Now, he's just going to be small, but honestly, that's a little bit more valuable for us because small, healthy Dexters are widely sought after. While many small Dexters have a disease called chondro, Prince is chondro negative. He's just small. Now, if you watch us on social media, you'll know that both Philip and I are very hands-on with our animals. We enjoy morning hugs and scratches and really getting to know the personalities of our animals. Now, I have had some people mention, are those your pets? And no, these are not our pets. These are working animals on our homestead. Apollo and Rex, as much as I love my little boys, they are destined to become beef here on the homestead. And that's just the cycle of life, and that is their job here on the homestead, is to provide us with healthy beef that we grew right here on our farm. Now, Rex and Apollo are going to be weaned when they're 6 months old. So Apollo, on the left here, he has about another month with his mother, and then Rex has about 2, and we're going to separate them, putting them with Prince, so they will have a companion when they go through their weaning. Now, we will continue to milk Meg and Kiana, and I'm hoping for a lot more milk and especially a lot more cream. Filming with animals around is always fun. Yeah, it's a mix between setting up the camera but protecting it from the animals. Do you want to mold it? Roxy, back up. Back up. No. I had to come back to this. I didn't have time to pick all these earlier. You know, as I watch these boys out here grazing, I wanted to add something. You know, too often people think that if you raise animals for your own meat, you must not like animals. And honestly, that's the furthest from the truth. Actually, a lot of us who do raise animals for meat actually care about them quite a bit. Now, we definitely work hard to give our animals the very best life possible. We treat them with kindness. We love on them a little bit. We spend time with our animals. We make them gentle and trust us. And then when it does come for that one bad day in their life, they're not stressed. They're not scared. And that last worst moment of their whole life was done in a stress-free environment, that we can give the animals the dignity and respect that they deserve. Now, while my beef has a face and a name, it's not that I don't care about them at all. It's that I actually care about them a whole lot. That doesn't necessarily mean it's easy, and I hope that I never lose that tenderness that cares about my animals and grieves that day, because I don't want to be hard-hearted like that. I want to have a compassionate attitude towards the animals we raise for meat. Oh, is that what they're waiting for? Oh. Now, while Philip and I moved here in September of 2023, our bees moved here in the spring of 2022. Now, we have successfully overwintered bees here when we weren't even here, and they even survived being toppled by a windstorm. But last winter was really rough on our bees, and we only had one hive that survived, and they struggled. Now, swarm season has been really generous to us, and we had a hive move right into the box, my favorite way to get a new hive. Now, we also extracted some bees from a tree here on the property, and because of all the efforts that we have, we now have 5 beehives. Now, we're getting ready to prep for the winter, and hopefully they're going to do a lot better this year. Now, Philip has spent quite a bit of time right down here at the bridge crossing. Now, most of the time the creek flows gently, and it's been dry for quite a bit. But when it does rain, this whole area floods. And if you follow us on social media, you'll know that we've had trouble with this section of the bridge washing out. Now, Philip has spent hours placing rocks individually along this line so that we can prevent the erosion of this bridge. Now, it's not done. Everything on the homestead takes a lot of time and energy, and sometimes we get called to other areas, so it's definitely a work in progress. Now, one of the greatest things since we've made our move to Kentucky is the wonderful community of friends that we've made since we moved here. Now, as Philip and I have networked here in Kentucky, we have broadened our horizons and have been booked at several speaking engagements over the next several months, which I'm pretty excited about. And for the first time ever, I'm going to be selling my homemade soap at some of the events that we're speaking at. Now, while moving to Kentucky has certainly had its challenges, we both love the solitary, quiet farm life that living on the homestead provides. Now, the hardest part is having left our families, and I miss my family greatly. Now, I'm super excited that we've got to have so many of our friends and family visit us and spend time with us here on the farm, because it's such a pleasure to share this dream with the people that we love. Now, on the homestead, there are many projects still undone. The root cellar, it started. That's about as far as we got. It started. And the deck is still in progress. Now, Philip is working hard to get the deck and the canopy project underway because winter is coming soon and I need that wood-burning stove because I do not want to be cold like I was cold last winter. So you can hear him working right now because I've told him that hunting season's canceled if I am not warm. So he's working on that now. Now, living off-grid has been wonderful. For the most part, we enjoy lots of sun during the spring and summer and rarely run the generator. But one of our biggest problems this year was the failure of our solar system. Our EG4 charge controller, which was brand new, failed. Now, thankfully, it was under warranty and all of that is fixed now, but we did spend 17 days on gas generator while we waited for that whole process to work out. Now, the final thing that we got to do this spring and summer was foraging. And we started the year off by foraging for morel mushrooms. Now, I've also picked over 5 gallons of wild blackberries and about a pint of elderberry. Now, in addition to that, I've dried some different herbs and medicinal plants that grow right here on the farm that we can use throughout the winter. Well, friends, that is the end of our first year at Kowalski Mountain. Building our off-grid homestead is a ton of work, and while there's so much that we really would like to be done, it's just the two of us. And it's a process, and we're definitely going to get there. Now, we learned a lot this year, some things we're going to do better next year, and add to, and grow, and continue to build this dream. Now, we're so thankful for all of you who follow us in our off-grid journey and are so supportive. If you just found us today, be sure to hit that subscribe button below and become a part of the Kowalski Mountain family. Well, friends, that's the first year. Here's to the rest of our lives. Thanks so much, friends. We'll see you next time.